Greetings, mere mortals, and welcome to the final episode of Monster Month this year. And we're ending with a whole bunch of monsters.
Expensive, hard to find monsters, as I give you my top 6 Holy Grail monster toys.
But before we do, there's one toy that's not on the list, even though it is rare and expensive.
I'm talking about my pet monster. It always shows up on lists like this, but I'm sorry, it may be called a monster, but there's nothing really monstrous about it. It's a monster in the same way Elmo is. But it is so well known, I have to at least mention it, because otherwise people will ask why I didn't.
Anyway, on to the actual list.
Number 6, Hlap Unicron. Is that giant robot a monster? Well, this is a very giant robot, and he's basically the Transformers boogeyman or Satan, so he counts. Produced in limited quantities and sold by Hasbro for a hefty price, it can still be found today if you've got a couple $1,000 to spend. And hey, you can always use the box he comes in as a coffee table. This is also the newest toy on this list, as it's come out fairly recently. That's why it's only number 6.
Well, then I realize I'm stretching the definition of monster a bit here.
Number 5, Jumbo Saurus Godzilla. When talking about monsters, you have to mention the king of monsters, don't you? And this is certainly the Grail of Godzilla toys, even though it's not called Godzilla. This toy is from 1978 and was exclusively sold in Japan. Finding one isn't that difficult.
But finding a mint working one is and gets expensive really fast.
You see, it has a string that when pulled produces Godzilla's iconic roar. But this mechanism is quite fragile, so having a working one is indeed quite a treasure. Just never ever pull the string after finding out it still works, or pretty soon it won't. Number 4, Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Another one that's not too difficult to find, but commands a steep price. And if you want a mint one, or one in a sealed box, then the price for the brain with the 90s dad bod goes up significantly. This figure from 1991 stands at 11 inches of pure 90s aesthetic, and if you've got a few $1,000 lying around, it could be yours.
Or you could subscribe to this channel's Patreon if you got that much money to spare.
Number 3, G.I. Joe Lunartic Aliens from Mexico. The Lunartic Aliens from G.I. Joe are rare enough on their own, but when you mix in foreign exclusive color variants, things heat up fast. Yes, these 3 were released in different colors, but only in Mexico, making them some of the rarest international variants out there. And if you ask Dimmer, any price is okay if it gets you a non-orange carcass. And yet, these aren't even the rarest or most sought after G.I. Joe aliens.
That honor goes to...
Number 2, the original Unreleased Manimals. These 6 aliens were originally supposed to come out in 1994 as part of the G.I. Joe toy line, but it got cancelled before that could happen. And while we did get 3 of them in 2001, the originals never saw the light of day.
Well, they kinda did, actually.
You see, a few prototypes and even some carded figures did get released into the wild, though in very small quantities. They can be found for sale even today, but you can either buy them or send your kids to college for that kind of money. Your call.
And the number one Holy Grail monster toy is...
Megator from Masters of the Universe. To be specific, from Italian Masters of the Universe. This behemoth stands at 12 inches tall, while regular He-Man figures are 5.5. And yet, he is in scale with the toy line, as he's an evil giant destroyer. By which I mean he's an evil giant that destroys, not that he destroys evil giants. This figure was supposed to come out in the US in 1987, but not unlike the Manimals and G.I. Joe, the toy line was cancelled before that could happen.
Unlike G.I. Joe, however, Masters of the Universe went on a little longer in Europe.
And places like Italy got exclusive figures like Megator here. This makes him quite expensive, especially for Americans, and especially mint in box. And all that for a figure that looks kinda goofy. He reminds me of an orc. Still, he is the unholiest of grails among monster figures in general, and Masters of the Universe in particular, so that's why he's number one. And that was my list. If you can think of any other monstrous holy grails, do let me know in the comments below.
And that wraps up Monster Month for another year. Until we meet again, mere mortals, when I hope to see many more of you.